Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1150A, and today's date is December 12th, 2016, and the title of the episode is Japan Preparing the Market for the Main Crash? Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we are continually seeing the stock market move up and up and up, and I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this year if they try to get it to 20,000 points. Because I do believe that is their goal, where they can say, listen, the Dow is at 20. Look at this. The precious metals is around 1,100, 1,000. The economy is incredible. 4.6% unemployment, 3.2% GDP. We don't care about the fourth quarter GDP because that's after the fact. We just want everyone to believe right now that this economy has completely recovered and everything is fine. But we know, because we've been following and tracking all of these economic indicators, that this is all fake, phony, and false. This is one gigantic illusion. And it's not just here in the United States where they're pushing the illusion. The EU, the central bankers, they want us to believe that Greece is recovering, it's doing much better, everything is fine, and they're telling us that the unemployment is dropping in Greece. But what we come to find out is they're using the same manipulation tactics that the United States uses, that we come to find out that the EU uses. Now, they came out and said over 37,600 salaried employees in the private sector lost their jobs in November. And this is according to Greece's Labor Ministry figures, which were released on Monday. 157,000 people were hired in November, and those who left their jobs came to 195,000. Out of whom 66,978 people left their positions voluntarily, while 128,000 were laid off or did not renew their contracts. Now, regarding the new jobs, only 67,000 were full-time positions, 66,000 were part-time, and 23,000 of those jobs are rotating jobs. But they count them as full-time jobs. And this is how they're continually pushing this unemployment number down and down. We can see they're manipulating these numbers. We have people who are falling off, and they're trying to make it look like the situation in Greece is improving incredibly. But again, 23% unemployment, that's not a recovery. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's a depression. And we can see right now that people, yes, are still struggling in Greece. They're struggling in Cyprus, Italy, France, you name it. The EU is a complete disaster. Here in the United States, we see very interesting things happening here. In Dallas, we see the police and fire pension systems. Well, they suspended all withdrawals last week. And we see the move stopped $154 million leaving the pension system. Now, if they allowed those withdrawals to go through, the fund would be below the $600 million in liquid assets that is required to maintain the $2.1 billion fund. $500 million has already been withdrawn. And the fund right now is looking for a bailout of $1.1 billion from the city taxpayers. Actually, this is how Rome fell. Once they could not fund the pensions, the military began sacking their own cities to get what they were owed. And these individuals in Dallas, well, they might do the same thing. And this is going to spread to other municipalities, to other cities, because as we know, the pension system completely underfunded. And when this system comes down and all these investments in the pension systems start to completely implode on themselves, it's going to be a complete disaster. And we can see that throughout this country, we have a major problem on our hands right now. Out in India, the situation is not improving whatsoever. And we should look at this because the central bankers, they're using this as their test case. Just like Cyprus with the bail-ins, with Greece, with stealing the wealth of the people, taking the pension money from the people. We see ever since Modi decided to demonetize the 500 rupee, we're seeing major problems inside India. Foxconn has asked 25% of its workforce to leave after the cash ban caused sales to collapse by 50%, forcing the company to slash production in half. And we have to remember something very important about paper currency when it's backed by absolutely nothing. Our entire monetary system, well, it depends on trust. A banknote is a piece of paper that says the RBI will give the bearer another similar piece of paper, or make an entry in an electronic ledger for that amount. The system works because everyone believes that those pieces of paper will be accepted by everybody else, and therefore money serves as a useful medium of exchange. When the trust is shaken, the system falls apart. And we are seeing this in many different countries. It's not just happening in India. We're seeing it in Venezuela. And this will spread. Actually, we're seeing it with the dollar, because there are many countries out there who are saying, you know something? Let's trade in our own currency. Let's bypass the dollar. And what that really means is they're losing faith in the dollar. And this is the first step. In India right now, 65% of the ATMs, they're non-operational. Think about this for a second. Only 35% of these ATMs throughout the country, well, those are the only ones that have cash. 65% do not. Think about here in this country if 65% of the ATMs did not work. Where would people get cash? Because you know the banks don't have it. You know the people were going to go in and say, instead of $200 or $100 or $20, I want it all. Well, we can see the system is breaking down in India right now. In Venezuela, we see Maduro, well, it looks like he's eliminating his currency, the $100, the 100 Bolivar bill. He decided to take this out of circulation. And we can see right now that if he takes the 100 Bolivar out of circulation, well, this makes up 48% of all bills and coins. In other words, Venezuela just eliminated half the paper cash in circulation. And they're expecting inflation this year to be close to 500%. Eco-Analytica estimates that this is where it's going. And we can see right now that when we look at Venezuela, when we look at India, when we look at Cyprus, when we look at Greece, now when we look at Italy, we see things are really breaking down. The situation is not improving. It's actually getting worse. Because this is what it looks like when the system starts to break down and it accelerates. More countries are hit. Governments, central banks start to do crazy things like this, like remove and ban cash. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the banking system afloat. Because if you remove cash, people can't take things out of the bank. They can't take their currency out of the bank. And right now, this is what they're trying to do. Something very interesting with the Bank of Japan. The Bank of Japan is now depreciating the yen against the US dollar on almost an hourly basis. This is the yen carry trade, and it's the single biggest driver of the markets today. In the last 2 weeks, the S&P 500 has following this pair almost tick for tick, which is very interesting. And you have to remember, the yen is a major world currency, and for it to move like this is almost unprecedented. By some metrics, the yen is now moving like a currency from a developing third world country. And it looks like this price fix will break, as all price fixes do. And when it does, the market's going to crash. And the question is Japan right now priming the market for a crash? Because we know the central bankers, they are planning on bringing down this economy in a controlled fashion. They don't want the economies to come down by themselves. They want complete control. They want to say when they're going to do it. They don't want a black swan. They want everything in order so they can say, okay, we're going to implement bail-ins. We're going to shut down the ATM machines. We're going to declare a bank holiday. And just like Big Swear on the X22 Report Spotlight, when we had a discussion about what was going to happen, currency is going to disappear. The currency that you have in the banks, they're no longer going to exist. And this is why everyone, in my opinion, should take out as much currency as you possibly can. Hide it. Don't tell anyone where it is. Keep whatever you need in there to pay your bills. Maybe convert it into gold and silver. Because when the system completely breaks down and crashes, gold and silver is going to protect your wealth. It has for thousands and thousands of years. Even though the corporate media, the central bankers, they don't want you to believe this. This is part of their brainwashing over time to make you feel, to make you believe that gold and silver, they're just used for jewelry, for products. They have no value whatsoever. But they do. Gold and silver has been money for thousands and thousands of years. If you buried $1 today, or let's say $100 bill, and you buried a gold coin, in 100 years, that $100 bill worth nothing. The gold coin retains its value. And we can see right now, as we get closer and closer to the system coming down, you need to get ready and prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.